Today we're making a cheesecake recipe in the Instapot. We're making Caramel Delight Cheesecake, also known as Samoa Cheesecake. It's a plain cheesecake with a chocolate crust and a coconut and caramel topping with a chocolate drizzle, and I put some homemade whipped cream on top also. So come take a closer look. So come along with me, let's make some cheesecake.
Let's take a look at the ingredients needed to make this recipe. First, you're going to need a 7-inch springform pan, some non-stick cooking spray. I use a special ring I use for sweet items I cook in my Instapot, and I have it colored green so I know that's my baking one. You're going to need some chocolate graham crackers. I'm using Teddy Grahams. 1/8 cup of granulated sugar. 1/4 cup of unsalted butter melted, 2 packs of cream cheese, room temperature, 3/4 cup of granulated sugar, 1/3 cup of sour cream, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and 2 large eggs plus 1 egg yolk. For the topping, you're going to need some sweetened coconut flakes, a jar of caramel topping, and a 1/4 cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips. To make the homemade whipped cream, I use heavy whipping cream, a cup, 4 tablespoons of powdered sugar, and a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Let's begin. First, I take my small chopper and I put in my graham crackers so I can crush them up to make a powder for my crust of my cheesecake. Just use the pulse function until it looks like a powder. Once that's done, I'm going to remove all the powder out of my chopper, put back in 1 cup. I'm going to add to that 1/8 cup of granulated sugar and add in my 1/4 cup of unsalted melted butter and just blend it together so it's evenly distributed. Now I'm going to put in a piece of parchment paper, spray it with my non-stick cooking spray. I put it on a little bit thick, so now I'm wiping up a little bit of the excess. Now take your pan and put it on a piece of heavy-duty foil, and you're going to fold up the edges. Make sure you're not covering the top of the pan, just to cover the edges. This is going to help prevent water from getting into the bottom of your cheesecake. Now take another piece of foil about 18 inches long and fold it into thirds the long wise. This strip will serve as a sling, making it easier to lift your cheesecake out of the Instapot. Now we're going to take our prepared crust mixture, put it in the bottom of our springform pan, spread it out, and use something hard to push it against the bottom of the pan. You can use your fingers, and you want to also push it about 1 inch up the sides. Once it's done, put it in the freezer while you're making the cheesecake mix. Take your 2 packages of softened cream cheese and blend it until smooth in your mixer. To that, you're going to add 3/4 cups of granulated sugar, 1/3 cup of sour cream, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, and continue mixing. Once everything's blended smoothly, I'm going to clean off the beater blade, take it off, scrape down the sides of the bowl just a bit. After the sides are cleaned down, I like to go ahead and take my eggs, slightly beat them, and then pour them into my cheesecake filling and start folding them with my spatula. As you can see, I poured half the eggs at a time. I seem to think that it incorporates just a little nicer that way. Once they've been incorporated by folding them in, I'll put my mixer blade back on and just give it a gentle mix and get ready for the next step. Now that our filling is done, we're going to pull our springform cheesecake crust out of the freezer. The freezing time, just a few minutes, gave it a chance to set up a little bit. Now we're going to pour in our creamy, rich cheesecake filling. You want to go all the way up to the top, but not over. Maybe leave 1/4 inch at the top. You just don't want it overflowing when it's steaming in the Instapot. Once you've put all the filling in, I like to smooth out the top just to make it a little even. And let's get ready to put it in the Instapot. Now that the cheesecake is prepared, I'm going to go ahead and put in 2 cups of water at the bottom of my Instapot. Then I'm putting in my metal rack that came with my Instapot at the bottom on top of the water, and this is going to prevent the cake from sitting in the water. Then I'm going to take my cheesecake, put it in the middle of my homemade sling, carefully lift it up, and place it gently inside the Instapot on top of the rack. Then I'm going to take the edges and just fold them down. I want to make sure that they're not touching the cake at all, and they can definitely be touching the sides of the pot. Now I'm going to get my lid prepared. I'm going to take off my white silicone ring from my Instapot lid and put in my green one. This is the one that I use specifically for baking or sweet items. Now that it's ready, I'm going to screw on the lid, lock it in place, and ensure that the vent is set to sealing. For this cheesecake, we're going to use manual pressure cooking on high for a total of 38 minutes. While my cheesecake is cooking, I'm going to turn on my oven. I'm going to set the temperature to 300 degrees, and I'm going to put my coconut on a baking sheet and cook it in there for 20 minutes, stirring it every 5 minutes until it's golden brown. Once the cooking time has completed on the Instapot, I let it sit for a natural release of 20 minutes. After the 20 minutes has occurred, I'm going to do a quick release to get the rest of the pressure out. The pin dropped pretty quickly. I'm going to open the lid and get ready to remove my cheesecake. It looks lovely. To remove the cheesecake from the pan, carefully unfold the sling arms from the Instapot. You can use tongs if it's too hot for you. It really wasn't too hot for me because all the steam has already come out, but you can use tongs if you prefer. You definitely don't want to burn yourself. Once the sling arms are up, I'm going to go ahead and grab my little pot holders, pick it up carefully out of the Instapot. Don't worry if the inside rack comes with it. You can always take it off. And I'm going to put it gently on a cooling rack. From the natural process of pressure cooking your cheesecake, there might be some liquid that accumulated in the center of the cheesecake during the cooking process. If so, just take a paper towel and gently soak up the liquid. You don't have to press hard, just sort of let the paper towel do the absorbing. The cheesecake is all set, so you're not going to ruin it. It's still going to look beautiful. You can see how it's set. Now you're going to let it sit and cool on the rack for 1 hour. I decided I'm going to go ahead and take off this foil just to ensure that there's no water sitting in there, any steam, so it has a better chance to cool down nice and evenly. Because the edges of the pan was still hot, I used my pot holders to lift up the cheesecake out of the foil bottom, and as you can see, there's lots of steam that developed in there, so it's a good thing we took this off. I don't want the bottom of my cheesecake to get wet. After 1 hour of cooling, it's time to take the cheesecake out of the springform pan. First thing I'm going to do is take a thin, sharp knife and just use it on the edges of the pan to help release the cheesecake from the edges if it happened to be sticking. I do this no matter if I cook the cheesecake in the oven or if I cook it in the Instapot. I open up the spring form side and I can feel that it's catching just a little bit still on the edge of the pan, so I use my knife one more time to help release the cheesecake from the sides, lift up the ring, and there you have it. Look how beautiful the cheesecake came out. I'm going to go ahead and move it over to the plate that I'm going to leave it on. This is going to be my plate for decorating. The next step is to take your cooled toasted coconut, and I'm going to start pouring my caramel sauce, my caramel topping, right on top of the coconut. Now I'm not going to pour the whole jar because I may not need it, so I'm going to pour some at a time, start mixing it together, and see how well it blends. I want to make it look like a caramel cookie topping, so I'm going to keep mixing it, and then if I need more, I'll add just a bit more. To get it the right consistency, I probably used about a half a jar of the caramel topping. You want to have it be forming like into a coconut ball where you can spread it around and manipulate it for the top of the cheesecake. And this is the kind of consistency you want it to look like. Now we're going to get ready to add it to the top of our cheesecake. And I'm slowly going to spread it around, make it nice and even. Just be careful so you're not going to tear up the top of your cheesecake. You want to take your time and spread it around evenly and all the way to the edges. You don't want it dripping down. The caramel shouldn't be so drippy that it's dripping down. It's more of a solid layer of coconut and caramel. So just keep spreading it till it's evenly all the way to the edges until it looks really nice like this. One thing I forgot to mention is during the time I pulled out the cheesecake from the Instapot, I put in a small metal mixing bowl and the hand mixing metal attachments, the little whisks, in the freezer so I can make my homemade whipped cream and they're ready to go. After finishing the coconut layer, I put the chocolate chips in a microwave safe bowl and melted them. Then I placed it in a Ziploc bag, snipped the corner to make these cute little lines across the top. This is what it looked like. I was just doing some touch-up. And we'll move on to the final decorating stage of whipped cream. With my chilled mixing bowl, I pour in my 1 cup of heavy cream, 4 tablespoons of powdered confectioner's sugar, and a teaspoon of vanilla. Take out my hand mixer and my chilled mixer whisks and start blending. I'm going to blend until it makes stiff peaks. Once it has stiff peaks like this, I'm ready to load the whipped cream into my cake decorating bag. Once I load all the whipped cream into my cake decorating bag, I'm going to place little dollops around the edge of the cake and one right in the center. And there you have it, Samoa Cheesecake or Caramel Delight Cheesecake, however you want to call it, made in the Instapot. If you enjoyed this recipe, please give my video a thumbs up and comment down below. If you would like to see more of my videos, please hit the subscribe button and turn on your notification bell to be informed when my next video is available. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye-bye.